Welcome to Fact Fusion. In today's video, we explore the top 10 remarkable survival stories. From incredible escapes to unimaginable endurance. Throughout history, there have been tales of incredible human endurance and tenacity, demonstrating the astonishing will to survive against all odds. The Blue John Canyon Ordeal. In April 2003, experienced outdoorsman Aron Ralston set off on a solo hiking expedition in Utah's Blue John Canyon. What was supposed to be an ordinary adventure turned into a life-threatening situation when a boulder dislodged, pinning Ralston's right arm against the canyon wall. Trapped alone with limited supplies, he faced a dire predicament. For 5 excruciating days, Ralston endured severe dehydration, hypothermia, and the constant pain from his crushed arm. As hope dwindled, he made a drastic decision. Using a dull multi-tool, he amputated his own arm to free himself. Summoning every ounce of his strength, Ralston hiked out of the canyon and eventually encountered hikers who helped him reach safety. His incredible tale of survival and resilience was later immortalized in the film 127 Hours. Trapped Underground. On August 5, 2010, the San Jose mine in Chile collapsed, trapping 33 miners 2,300 feet underground. The miners faced seemingly insurmountable challenges: limited food and water, rising temperatures, and the psychological toll of being confined in darkness. For 17 days, there was no contact with the outside world. When rescuers finally drilled a small hole to their location, they found the miners alive and sheltering in a refuge chamber. Over the next 52 days, an international effort ensued to drill a rescue shaft wide enough to bring the miners to the surface. The rescue. On October 13, 2010, the world watched as each miner was brought to the surface in a specially designed capsule. Their 69-day ordeal became a symbol of hope and perseverance, demonstrating the power of teamwork and human ingenuity. Falling from the sky. On Christmas Eve, 1971, 17-year-old Julianne Kopka was on Lanza Flight 508 flying over the Amazon rainforest when the plane was struck by lightning and disintegrated in mid-air. Kopka plummeted over 10,000 feet, still strapped to her seat, into the dense jungle below. Surviving the jungle. Miraculously, she survived the fall with only minor injuries. Alone in one of the world's most treacherous environments, Kopka relied on her knowledge of the rainforest, taught to her by her biologist parents. For 11 days, she navigated through the jungle, avoiding dangerous wildlife and surviving on sparse food sources until she found a logging camp and was rescued. The bear attack. In 1823, frontiersman Hugh Glass was on a fur-trapping expedition in the American frontier when he was viciously attacked by a grizzly bear. Left for dead by his companions, who took his equipment, Glass faced severe injuries, including a broken leg and deep lacerations. The journey to safety. Refusing to succumb to his injuries, Glass crawled over 200 miles through hostile territory to reach the nearest settlement. He survived on wild berries, roots, and even scavenged from a buffalo carcass. His determination and resourcefulness allowed him to overcome extreme physical pain and harsh environmental conditions. Adrift at sea. In 1981, Stephen Callahan set sail across the Atlantic Ocean in his small sailboat, the Napoleon Solo. However, just 6 days into his journey, his boat was damaged by a storm and sank. Callahan found himself adrift in a life raft with limited supplies and no way to communicate with the outside world. 76 days adrift. For 76 days, Callahan drifted alone in the vast ocean, battling dehydration, starvation, and exposure. He relied on his survival skills, catching fish and collecting rainwater to sustain himself. His ordeal finally ended when he was rescued by fishermen near the Caribbean island of Marie Galante. Callahan's incredible story of survival is documented in his book, Adrift: 76 Days Lost at Sea. 6. Beck Weathers. The 1996 Everest disaster. Mount Everest, the highest peak on Earth, is known for its perilous conditions. In 1996, during a disastrous expedition known as the 1996 Everest disaster, climber Beck Weathers found himself stranded in a severe storm at high altitude, in the death zone. Left for dead by his fellow climbers, Weathers endured extreme cold and severe frostbite. The miracle. After spending nearly 15 hours in freezing conditions, Weathers somehow found the strength to stagger back to camp. He was eventually rescued, though he lost his nose, right hand, and parts of both feet to frostbite. Weathers' incredible story of survival against the most extreme conditions was later depicted in the film, Everest. 7. Yossi Ginsberg. Lost in the Amazon. In 1981, Israeli adventurer Yossi Ginsberg set out on an expedition into the uncharted depths of the Bolivian Amazon with 3 companions. The group was separated during the journey, leaving Ginsberg alone in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. 3 weeks of survival. For 3 weeks, Ginsberg survived on his own, enduring starvation, poisonous snakes, and torrential rains. He had to use every ounce of his survival knowledge, eating raw eggs and fruit he found along the way. His ordeal ended when he was rescued by local hunters. Ginsberg's harrowing story was later adapted into the film, Jungle, starring Daniel Radcliffe. 8. Poon Lim. Adrift during World War II. During World War II, Poon Lim, a Chinese sailor, found himself adrift in the South Atlantic after his ship was torpedoed by a German U-boat. Clinging to a makeshift raft, Lim faced 133 days at sea, making it the longest recorded survival on a raft. Ingenuity and endurance. Lim survived by catching fish, collecting rainwater, and even fending off sharks. Despite the dire conditions, his ingenuity and resilience kept him alive until he was rescued by Brazilian fishermen. Poon Lim's incredible endurance and survival skills earned him the British Empire Medal, and his story remains an inspiring tale of human perseverance. 9. Ernest Shackleton and the Endurance Expedition. The Antarctic Expedition. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton led an expedition to Antarctica with the goal of crossing the continent. However, their ship, the Endurance, became trapped in the pack ice of the Weddell Sea. For months, the crew endured the harsh Antarctic conditions, eventually abandoning the ship as it was crushed by the ice. The incredible rescue mission. Shackleton and his men embarked on a harrowing journey across the ice to reach Elephant Island. From there, Shackleton and a small crew set out in a lifeboat on a perilous 800-mile voyage to South Georgia Island to seek help. After 16 days at sea, they reached the island and secured a rescue mission. Remarkably, all 28 men survived the ordeal, thanks to Shackleton's leadership and determination. 10. Ada Blackjack. Alone in the Arctic. In 1921, Ada Blackjack, an Inuit woman, joined an ill-fated expedition to Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean. The expedition quickly turned disastrous, leaving Blackjack and 4 men stranded on the island. As the men set out to seek help, Blackjack was left alone with her ailing companion, who eventually died. Surviving the Arctic wilderness. Blackjack survived alone for 2 years in the harsh Arctic environment, using her knowledge of survival skills to hunt and protect herself from polar bears. Her incredible strength and determination kept her alive,